one side. The Bobcat. Let's see. It's a little better. All right. So what Bobcat equipment do you currently use on your job site?
Well, you see, it's kind of one of those things where there's a kid's storybook as far as which Bobcat piece of equipment that we use. There's a kid's storybook, and it's called Give the Mouse a Cookie. And I have a Southern customer that he and I were laughing about this. His kids are a little bit younger than mine, and he was actually reading that book to his daughter the night before we were talking about wood processors and things. And basically the story is, if you give a mouse a cookie, it's a cookie one night, then it's a cake the next night. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger as it goes. So like I said, 9 years ago, we started off, we didn't even own a skid steer, but we had the Halverson processor. We were renting a machine to operate the unit, and it was Chris from the Tunkhannock store. He's since passed away, but he was our salesman back then, and he set us up with the S300 that's behind me. There's over 6,000 hours on that piece of machinery, and it starts at -10 degrees every time. I don't want to say that it starts better than a new one, but you know, it's kind of a toss, yeah. So that was our first piece that we ever bought, and we used it for running the wood processing attachment. But you know, as far as the lineup goes, it's a Versahandler V518, so it lifts 5,000 pounds. It'll reach a maximum of 18 feet in the air. We have the rotating pallet forks on that, and that's my heavy lifter, and it's also my high lifter, because we have a Ram 4500 with a tall aluminum box on it. So if we're going to use those rotating pallet forks, we can either pick up like an IBC tote and rotate that 180 to empty it, or more commonly we use like the firewood bags, and I have to get tall enough that I can flip them upside down. So that's where we use the Versahandler. Then the S300 is a great site machine if we're bringing wood or log length out of the woods. It's also a nice heavy lifter. We have the frostbite style grapple on that from Brute Force. It's got a 48-inch max opening, and I think a clamp pressure over 3,000 pounds, so you can get a good fistful of wood. We've used it to load the live deck on the big processor. The Toolcat is probably my most versatile piece that we use around the woodlot. It'll run anything from the big debris bucket that we have underneath the disc cleaner, just for hauling out the bits and sawdust and the little pieces that come off the wedge, to pallet forks for moving the bags around, regular bucket just for grading up the mud that we've had because of all the rain. Really, it's just, it's a multi-purpose Swiss Army knife kind of machine. Probably what it really excels at doing is, what's on it is that Halverson wood processor, and you know, the gallons per minute are like right there on the low flow side. The pressure's perfect. It has all the buttons on the single-handed joystick controller for all the operations. It's heat, it's AC, the radio's playing, or my phone's going through the sound system. I can have a kid with me in the passenger seat, a customer that comes in from out of town to see something run. We use it for snow. I got a snow blower for it, or a plow. The traction control was the reason that I went with the new Toolcat, because the other one, you could have 3 tires on dry asphalt and it would still spin 1 tire that was on the ice puddle. But this one is an absolute animal. It goes anywhere. The UV34 XL, we actually got for doing a little hunting project with Patriots Cove and Jeff Swire. So they're a nonprofit organization. They're a certified 501c3, and they have trout fishing or fly fishing and hunting for injured veterans and first responders. One of his machines went down. They had a hunt coming up, and I didn't really need a reason to buy a side-by-side, but I used that for my reason. So it's the crew cab. I might update to an actual cabbed unit, because we did a January hunt where the wind moved in and it was rainy, and I didn't want to be like a real yuppie with doors and heat, but we froze, so I might be upgrading to something like that. The MT85 also is probably my second most used piece of equipment around the woodlot. It just gets into those tight little places. We found it as a used machine. I really wanted a 100 because the extra lifting capacity out of it, hence the T595 weight kit that's bolted onto the back of it. So technically it's like an MT 1050 if you follow the counterweight. But again, it's got all the hydraulic pressure, it's got the right gallon per minute, and we actually have it set up this way because we're going to go up here and work at our neighbor's house. He has some ginormous rounds, and the attachment that's on it is an inverted splitter. So that has a 30-inch stroke on it, and I think it's like 36 tons at 3,000 psi. So you can actually shear stuff off sideways. It has a 4-way in it. We can go 4, 6, 8, 10-way, 12-way, whatever you want to push through it, as long as it's has enough power and tonnage to force it through the bigger pieces of wood. Normally it's a 4-way or a 6-way. I tend to max things out. But yeah, so that runs that piece. We just bought the CT 1025. Our property here is 5 acres, about half of it's mowable. And this gives my son something to do when he stays off of my toys, so he has his own. But again, just the loader is nice. My wife can use it for getting around the garden, just weeding, you know, a little bit of mulch here, some topsoil there, whatever. It's just a nice multi-purpose piece with, you know, the nice tires that go across the lawn without tearing everything up. And then we come down to the E60, which is probably off of camera, but it pretty much lives between my big wood processor and the log pallet. All it does is just grab and pull, and it just feeds that live deck because the processor's hungry. And we have the ditching bucket on it because I ran out of daylight and the rain, which I didn't run out of, but we were doing a lot of stuff down in the driveway. We actually ripped up the whole driveway. We were doing some foundation work around the garage, so I have the 12-inch trenching bucket on that. But we've used it for pulling stumps out around the property. But pretty much it's mainly just, it's a loading machine, just using that big arm for moving a log or two at a time to feed the processor. So that's kind of my lineup and kind of how we started and what we're into now. So
Awesome, awesome.